Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of our brand new podcast called The Heart Space with myself, Jasmine, and my beautiful freedom fighter friend.
I'm Alena. Hi, guys.
And today, for our very first podcast, we wanted to talk about our own spiritual awakening transformation that we've had over the past few years because again, like we've been living in like some crazy times worldwide with this whole pandemic that is happening. I can't call it anything else. Okay, I'm not gonna call it what it isn't. It's not a pandemic, it's a pandemic. That's how we both feel. And this whole what situation that's happening in the world played a big part on both of our awakening. So would you say that was the same for you, like in terms of waking up?
Yeah, you mean when everything started with the whole COVID thing? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was a huge eye opener to like how I felt and really crashed hard. Like my life, I would say, fell apart at that point. I didn't start awakening at that point, but like that's when everything was like shattered, and it was pretty devastating. Like I feel like my awakening was rough. Like it wasn't a smooth transition. It was like
I'm nodding
full
in
on
agreement.
tears.
I'm like,
Yeah,
yes, yeah.
it was like depression and like, what am I doing here, and like why did I agree to being a part of this experience and stuff, and like just a lot of questions. I feel like, yeah, it was a lot of fear. I felt a lot of fear for the first year. I was afraid. Yeah.
You know how you said there was a lot of questions? Do you feel like a lot of those questions have been answered for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's taken time and I still think there's so much to go through, but
Mhm.
like now I'm at a space where like I don't feel so like unempowered and so fearful. Like I feel like there's nothing that I can't get through, and like there's this realization that there's nothing that you can't get through or other people can't get through. Like we've done this, we've been through so much, like we can accomplish and overcome so many obstacles. So now instead of being as fearful as I was about some of the knowledge that I had learned, now I'm like, oh, okay, so this is a problem. Okay, instead of like diving deep into my fear, I'll feel it now and then we'll figure it out.
Yes.
Now that's the positive that's come out of like actually allowing myself to face my fears and face the information that we may have been wanting to ignore. Like a lot of us ignore stuff because it's too hard.
Yeah.
Why would we want to put ourselves in a depression that, you know, pulls us out of our daily routine? We're happy, we think we're happy anyway.
Yeah. To a lot of people, I think a lot of people are, they have like a feeling or an inkling that something doesn't feel right, but like you said, they're burying their heads in the sand. They're happy to remain ignorant because once you cross that threshold, like we did, like
Yeah.
another expression that people use is the lifting of the veil, when you see through
Yeah.
the illusion.
Yeah.
It's a choice at the end of the day. You either cross that threshold and you're ready to see the truth, like as ugly as it is, or you're going to stay stuck, in what you would call the matrix. But I think a really good thing that we should do is talk about our background, where we're from, and then get into our own personal stories. So do you want to
Yeah.
lead the way with that? Because you have a
Sure.
very interesting background being from Hawaii with your beautiful accent.
Yeah, kind of. Now I feel like I just feel so unearthly at times. But yeah, I grew up in Hawaii, and then I was born in Hawaii, and then we grew
Oh,
up in LA for like up until I was 10. So we and I was pretty isolated from like my mom, like both sides of my family. So I wasn't around cousins all the time. It was just me and my little sister. And my mom's always been super like very open-minded and given us a lot of information. So through the years, we had lots of realizations thanks to my mom that gave us the ability to like think about the other side and not just what school was teaching us. And then yeah, we moved back to Hawaii when I was like 10, 11, and I grew up there for a little bit. And then because I didn't know my dad throughout my entire life, and I didn't have any plans for high school, or not high school, but like after high school, I didn't have like, I wasn't striving to go to university. I was like, I was already of the mindset that I was like, do I really need that? Like, and I know a lot of people are pretty, that is the thing you do. Like, aren't you gonna go to university? Like a lot of people would ask me that. And I was like, why? Like, why do people put so much emphasis on that? So,
it's a big thing in America too, right? To go to graduate and go to university.
Yeah, that's like if you don't do that, then what are you doing with your life? Yeah. I was just like, I really don't know, but that is not my priority. It just wasn't. But I didn't have any plans at all. So, even though I had these dreams, I still was allowing life to kind of take me where it needed to be. And so when my dad contacted my mom to say, while I'm in New Zealand, maybe it's good for her to come and meet me. So that's how I ended up here. And I stepped off that plane, not even knowing my dad at all. So I kind of had to guess with my own intuition who he was and search the crowd for faces that I thought would be my dad. And when I walked up to him, he goes, "How'd you know it was me?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just knew." Because he didn't look like any of the pictures that I had seen. Like he's a lot older now. Yeah. So that was the first year I stayed in New Zealand for in 2005. And then, my life kind of just took off from there, where it was a lot of ups and downs. And I think the most transformation happened within the last 7 years of my life, where I was going through, breakup. I have 2 children, and naturally people kind of go through these huge transformations with divorces and stuff like that. So that was really hard, but good for me, because I needed my independence and I needed to kind of figure me out as well. And then the pandemic happened, and straight away, like all of the propaganda that started to come out, it just didn't worry me. Like I was very surprised that a lot of people were so wrapped around this information that sickness is running around. And I was like, why is everybody freaking out about sickness? Like, when did we get so afraid? Like, I just wasn't. I was like, I'm strong. Like, I don't know why everybody else doesn't know that they're strong, strong to overcome sickness. Like, you're young, you're fit. Like, why do we do this to ourselves? So from the get-go, I was like, I'm not gonna like be scared because somebody announced there's sickness flying in the air. I was like, whatever. Okay, you all be tripping. That was my attitude. And there's still a level of respect for people that are afraid. So I'm not trying to like downgrade anybody who actually has gone through major sickness through this time. But I think there's a lot of disease within the mind, because majority of why we get sick starts within the emotional and the spiritual health. So if that is wrong and if that is twisted, your body will naturally become sick because you believe that you will get sick. So when people go, but if coronavirus isn't real, well then, or if the pandemic isn't real, they say they try to really logically reason with something, but they forget the spiritual aspect of how we are healthy, and it's not what the WHO says. I guess I could go off for, probably on a tangent forever on that, but my intuition from the very get-go was like, I'm strong. I don't know why we are tripping out on this. Like I have faith in my own healing, and I have faith in your healing. Why are we really, like, this is showing me that we have been easily persuaded.
Yeah.
This is what it's showing me, really. So yeah, that's kind of it. And then, like, I mean, I found out so many other things, and it was really heartbreaking to know about the children that were affected about in the mix of politics, and how corporations, how they do business in order to profit off of people being sick. So everything that we were going through economically, financially, I mean, all of these people at the top who are already rich were making huge financial gains. And it was like, when regular people would ask, well, why would they lie? And it's kind of like, well, when you look at the billions of dollars they're making off of you being sick and not being able to work, that's why they would lie. Like,
Yeah.
if you knew and did like a little bit digging and actually found out history about these companies and these corporations and politics and where these people come from, then you'd be able to make the connection better. But if you're just looking at, and CNN and Fox, and you're going to get a very skewed version of what you think is truth, when it's pretty much none of it is. It's all persuasion, and it's all like there to manipulate you to make decisions which are not informed. Informed decisions they talk about all the time. And yeah. So it's just huge. This is a huge spider web, and it's just so peaceful to know that we are spiritual beings, that, like, the transformation remains within ourselves, that we're not here to like fight about politics, about who's right and who's wrong. We're just here to observe, and then to find that center within us that tells us we're still safe. We're still fucking fine. And we don't need someone to tell us how to live our life in order to be healthy. Like, I literally do not need someone to tell me to, like, this is what you got to do to be healthy, Alena. I'll just be like, okay, thanks. You do that. You do that for your body. I'm good.
I think a lot of us too, we've given our power away over the years, and like you said, like everything's driven by fear. Like that's how they've come to manipulate us, the powers that be, the media. And again, like if you trace, all you need to do is follow the money, follow where the money is connected, and it leads to these big corporations who are profiting off everything. And these corporations own everything, every sector you can think of, whether it be the health, the food, the beauty industry, and so on, the entertainment industry. Everything links back to these few corporations, and these are the people that meet up at the World Economic Forum once a year and decide humanity's fate, decide where we're going. And see, I didn't know about any of that until, I went through my awakening. And like, because I grew up in Manurewa, and so, and in a family where you weren't, encouraged to question things, you just accept what was for face value. Yeah, what you're told. Exactly that. And I love my mother, but I grew up with a mum that never could figure things out for herself. She had to get validation and approval from a lot of people. So I feel like it wasn't until I reached my 30s that I had shed a lot of the imprint she left on me, because throughout my 20s, I was a scared, insecure little girl. I really struggled a lot in my 20s, to the point where like I would suffer through depression like at least once a year. It was normal. It was normal to be depressed once a year. And it was also normal for me to have suicidal thoughts, like it was nothing. Like, it would just pop up in my head like, oh, I should, electrocute myself in the bath one day. Like really like vivid thoughts like that of how I'm going to do it, planning it, like, you know, when my partner wasn't going to be home. So I went through the stage of just not knowing myself, being insecure, and that came through my relationship too, because like I've been with my partner 16 years, my now husband, and there was a lot of turmoil and conflict, and it stemmed from my insecurities and not having love for myself, you know. But I was lucky to have a man that would love me enough through it until I gained that love for myself, you know, as much as I'm sure he wanted to run away.
Yeah,
You know, so
that's
we
beautiful.
we kind of grew in love, you know, like we've had our ups and downs, and you know, like I said, we've been together now, but it wasn't until I got to my 30s that I really started to embrace who I was, accept my flaws, and speak my truth. In the last 3 years is where I gained the most confidence. So
Yeah.
again, like when we had that the first lockdown hit New Zealand, um, I was exposed to a documentary called Fall of the Cabal. And, you know, I must say, like, New Zealand was very happy to be in that first lockdown. I think we kind of all embraced it and saw
Yeah.
it as a holiday, you know,
Yeah.
and and you know, we just enjoyed that time at home with our kids. And so going back to that first lockdown is when I first awoken. I was introduced to this documentary, like I was saying. If you haven't seen it, it's a must watch. It's very well detailed. It's about 3 hours, but it's in 10
Yeah.
parts, so you can watch it in parts if need be. But
Yeah.
we binge watched it. I watched three hours straight, and I was convinced that everything in this documentary was real. And you know what I liked about the documentary is the who was it? I think it Janet Ossabard. She encourages people to do their own research. So she was like, don't believe what I say, research it. And that's exactly what I did. And I went down all the rabbit holes, and then I was like, you know, freaking out, you know. I freaked out so much, like I pulled my son out of school. I didn't trust, you know, like the government and what was going on and the whole pandemic itself.
Yeah.
And then like because I was such an introverted shy person, like I was one that would go on Facebook and read everyone's comments, but I wouldn't dare say what I thought. You know, I was happy to
Yeah.
just have a read, and but I just thought, you know, who's going to care what I think? Or I don't want to get into debates with people. Like the fact that I'd have to debate my views with someone really petrified me. But once I had learned the truth, especially around like we won't go too much into it today, but child trafficking and how it's linked to these higher corporations, that for me it was like an insult to my soul. Like
Yeah.
it broke my heart, and I was angry. I was so angry, and I just needed to tell everyone what was going on. So that's when I jumped on Facebook on my stories, and then it just started from there. I just kept telling the truth and giving people links and saying, go check here and check here. And, you know, I'm sure I lost a few friends along the way because people thought absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
But what I gained was what I would call my soul family. Like Alena and I haven't never met in person, and we've just had this connection from the get-go. Like I'm Cook Island, my background, you know, she's from Hawaii. And I actually think I have links to Hawaii. I've just learned that my grandmother's father was Hawaiian, so I'm like, maybe somewhere down the line we're connected, like our bloodlines.
Yeah, for
It has to
sure. For
be.
sure. And
Because
like
we just
all
vibed straight
yeah.
away,
Yeah,
straight
we
away.
did.
And we were like talking to each other at three in the morning, like would be up at the same time, worrying about the same things, worrying
Yeah.
about the world and what we're going to do. And so it was nice to, like I said, connect with all these people along the journey and my soul family. Like, and we're on the same mission. And I think the mission it's so big, it's so vast, it's happening worldwide, and you can't deny it with all the protests going on, you know, like
Yeah.
I think whoever is awake and using their voice and creating a platform, it's the most important thing we can do to combat the what the media is putting out there, you know, the propaganda. We need to fight back, like push back with, you know, creating music and videos to educate people, and reprogram them in a sense of what really is going on in a loving way. You know, that's why
Yeah.
it's called the heart space, where we get to talk from our heart, you know, and share and hopefully help others go through this transformation. You know, people just waking up and realizing these things, and for them to know they're not alone. I think that's really important, because when you first wake up, it's
You
like,
feel alone.
yeah,
It's like, oh my gosh, who else knows? Like, am I seriously the only one in my family? Because oftentimes I know that's what happens, where it's like one person, mom and dad and brothers and sisters, they don't even know what the heck you're talking about, and you're
yeah,
crazy, until you start reaching out and you start seeing, okay, I'm not crazy. There are other people here that have researched this, like, very similar information, and have come to the conclusion from a different point of view. Because
yeah,
for me, what was it? It was the child trafficking. Like, I do remember going down that rabbit hole too. But there was something else. And I think it was just the fact, I think I was looking a lot into the law. Like, about, I was like seriously questioning, like, how can they force people to take something against their will just to
yeah.
keep their job? So I went down that rabbit hole, and that's how I found common law and all of that information. But I know other people came to the truth about the same similar information through a different avenue. So it was really cool to see, because then I was able to learn different information from others. And like, I know what you mean. It's like,
And
we're
that's been the
not
great
alone.
thing. Yeah, is it's we've been learning off each other along the way. And you know, like having the awakening, and like the term itself, like people, like for me, my great awakening means like coming back to myself, coming back
Mm,
to who I'm truly at my core and my center, before I was programmed, before I came into this simulation and this life, and you know, had the parents that I had and the upbringing. Because I think at our core, like everyone just wants to be loved. Everyone just wants to be loved and accepted at our core. But once you do that within yourself, that's when you know you're able to grow and help others recognize it too.
yeah, yeah, totally, totally. I think that is a huge part of our awakening and our transformation, because a lot of people right now are like, we're conditioned to be super selfish. You
Mm,
know, what about me? Like, what am I going to do in my life? What am I going to accomplish? What am I going to, what school should I go to? What car? I need to have the best car. I need to have the
yeah,
big house. I need to have the big wedding. I need to show people that, I'm doing good for myself. And sometimes this can be very selfish,
mm,
because we're not actually thinking the way we used to, where when we work together, if we had small villages, it was, we have like our children, and we're going to do this today, or do you know what I mean? Like, in a village setting, I think life was a lot more peaceful, because we were actually self-sustainable, and we
yeah.
weren't trying to be something more than the others. It was a collective goal to live in harmony, and we're not doing that. So our purposes have changed. Like, like, it just, as in this world, everybody kind of like needs to be known, needs to be at the top. And then we lose sight about, like, really, are those material things making us happy, or has that been planted in our head to try to
Yeah.
be something other than who you truly are?
It's a
So
man eats man world out there, eh? Like people are prepared to squash their colleague, or you know, their friend, you know, or a family member, to just be one step ahead, you know, and that's quite sad. And I guess like stemming from that too is one thing we've been programmed or taught to do throughout our lives is to look outside of ourselves for, you know, that validation, or that just the validation
For
that
love.
you're doing, yeah, that you're doing okay. Or, like with celebrities and that, like we've learnt to idolize people and put them on a pedestal where we should be, putting ourselves on a pedestal, coming back to our center and empowering ourselves and knowing that we can seek all the answers, like,
Yeah.
and we have everything within us and the tools. It's just going back to the, and to the simple way of living. Like I'd love to, like, as a woman too, like you have that pressure of being a working mum, like
Mhm.
working and making sure you've got your house in order, but I would love to be a stay-at-home mum. I see, like, I think that's a beautiful thing, to be at home caring for your family and taking care of the home, whereas again there's a lot of that social pressure on women to like look good right after they have the
And
baby.
do it all. Like
Yeah,
be
yeah,
a full-time and be a full-time mom. Like, work full-time. And it's like, I mean, look good and have the perfect
yes,
body. Like, are you
yeah,
guys crazy? Why don't you
yeah,
want to make me be that way? I
yeah,
can.
yeah,
It's like you're driving us mental. And that's why we have, like so much like dysfunction, because we're losing sight of like, because I before my transformation, I always felt like, well, women can do whatever men can do.
mm,
I was way pulling in too much of the masculine side of me without actually letting go, so I could breathe, because our bodies are so different. When I had my two children, I literally went back to work full time in
wow,
6 weeks. So
wow,
I only had 6 weeks off with these kids, and that was it. And I was just, you know what I mean? It was painful. I did not want that, but like it was about survival. And then after time, it was like, well, that's normal. That's just my life. I gotta go, go,
mm,
go. And now in my life, I find myself not wanting to work. And it's not because I don't have ambition, but it's because I don't aspire to the things that other
yeah,
people may aspire to want or have. And though I want nice things, but there's so much work to be done on myself right now, and I'm
mm,
healing a lot of things that I once thought was true. And I'm trying to like allow myself to change without feeling that pressure that like I need to be better. Like, so it's just kind of a gradual thing, and I see and I observe that like, oh, this was my old pattern. Like, oh, I used to think like that. Okay. Like, yeah,
it's
I
slowing
can,
down in a way, like,
yeah,
and just and being kind to yourself, being patient with yourself. You're not going to get there straight away. Like, there are things where I've got to, like, times I should say, where I've got to like check my ego, because
yeah,
I get on
me
this
too.
space where I was like, oh, I already know that, like, or I know how to do that, but it's like, maybe I could learn to do it better. So it's, just humbling yourself too, because I especially being an Aucklander, like, you have like that fast mentality and that busy lifestyle, and going from because I'm living in Rotorua now, going
Yeah.
from being in Auckland and born and raised there, to coming to a smaller town where a lot of people are very courteous, like, it's like stepping back in time, like, of how Auckland used to be before it
Used to
got so
be.
crowded. Yeah, that
Yeah.
old style of living, like, no one, people will let you in traffic, like,
You
it's
say
so
hi to
different.
random people,
Yeah.
Like, hi, morning. They don't do that here in
No,
Auckland.
it's
And,
very, and I feel it. Like, when I come back up to visit, like, I remember after I first woke up, we came up for one of my friends' kids' birthdays, and we went to the mall. And I don't know if it's because I opened myself up more, but I
yeah,
just, the energy of the mall, it was just, oh, you could feel
robotic.
it. Yeah, just like
Yeah.
you get women like giving you dirty looks, and you got men looking you up and down, and people are just like, when you're walking and no one's prepared to move, like, they're waiting for you to move out of the way,
Yes.
like, it's this
Yes.
staunch mentality, like, get out of my way, like, I'm
Yeah.
going to step over you to get to where I need to be. So
Yes.
I think a lot of my healing because like I said, like was suffering through the depressions over the years, was moving here to Rotorua, you know, like, and being
How long have you guys been there for now?
about 5 years now. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and it's just,
Perfect.
yeah, it's just such a spiritual place. Like, and it's, you know, there's lots of beautiful spots and everything is so close, you know, and um, yeah, it's just been a big transformation. The move and being here, I feel like I was meant to be here. Like I always remember coming here as a child for a trip, and I loved it. It's such a good, fun memory. And just moving here, and because my husband is from here, but we
Oh,
lived in
yeah.
Auckland for 12 years, and I think it, you know, everything happens in divine timing. Like, and it was just one of those things that happened in divine timing. And, you know, you're meant to be where you are, you know, at that point in time to go through some evolution and growth within your life, you know, and
Yeah.
I think just a change, like getting away from old friends too. Like I'm still friends with a lot of my friends, but a lot of them have been vaccinated, but they're super supportive. Like, you know, they're like, you know, freedom of
Yeah.
choice, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But it still saddens me, you know, I'm not on the same
Yeah.
page. Like I said, I've made new friends, like I've linked up with like minds, and I got into a point where I don't settle for, I can't do small talk anymore. Are you like
Same.
that?
No,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
just like,
I just,
if I can't find out what you dreamt about last night, or do you know what I mean? Like talk from the soul. I'm
yeah.
just not doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't. I never really could anyways prior to this. It was that, and it was really hard to find friends. Like there was a big period in my life where I just felt super lonely. I didn't have enough friends around me or people that I felt that I could trust. And so that also fed into my I would say that I had like some depression there for a long time, which I buried. So
Hmm.
I buried my depression under my work. And I was a manager in retail for a long time, for about 8 years. So I was just busy, 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 go, go, go. Gotta be a mom, need to wake up early, take the kids to school, do it all over again, like clockwork. And so yeah, like and the job comes with, you know, hi, how are you today? Like being very social, being very and really getting into conversation with people. So small talk was already part of my career or whatever my job that I was doing. And then I always found a way to have deep conversations with customers. And I just found that like naturally I was a deep person, like always. So, but I still felt lonely. I still didn't have connections. It was thanks to the pandemic
Yeah.
that when I had my huge outburst online and I was just so angry at the world for really falling for this, was the time when people were like, "Oh, you're the first person in New Zealand that I've seen that's actually had a angry, video about this, and I feel the same way."
Yeah.
And a lot of that was like, and I was like, I'm so surprised. I'm so surprised that people are not mad, but that was just like the only way that I could actually find my soul tribe. So I thank my soul for allowing me to do that, but I also am not as angry as I used to be.
Hmm.
So yeah, like now I'm just happy and grateful that I found people like yourself, and like we've just been able to connect over the fact that like, hey, we must have been family in another lifetime or something, because
Yeah.
like how else would we be able to find each other? Me and you would not be friends if it weren't for this. So it's just so cool. Like there's the miracles that have come through
I
with
think
this.
there'll be so many like stories of connections and people having like even like past life memories with people
Yeah,
along, you know, with these other people that are, I think if you're out there speaking your truth and you're waving your flag of freedom, you know, you're attracting your tribe, you know, who
yeah,
are on the same length as you. And, you know, I think for me, because I saw you speaking out online and I was just like, wow, who is this beautiful girl? And you were very well spoken. And like, even when you cursed, like, I wasn't even phased by the curse. I was like, I trust someone more
Sorry,
that curse,
everybody.
you know? Like,
Yeah.
and I think what attracted me to you is you could just tell you were talking from the heart, like, and everything you were saying resonated with how myself and a lot of other people were feeling. I feel like a lot of people really looked out for you and looked up to you during those first couple of years. You know, they were waiting for you to go live. They were waiting for you to have, you know, because you were speaking for them. Like, there's still a lot of people out there that don't want to public speak, that felt the same, and you were the voice, you know. You with there was a couple other people like Damien Dement. I thought he was super funny.
Yeah.
Carlene, like, oh,
Yeah.
the work that she did and the things that she's been exposing with the child trafficking. You know, these are going to be like, we're going to look back in history, and these names are gonna, I feel like they're going to reign clear of who were the first to really stand out. I've even got to give a shout out to Billy Te Kahika. Like, he was the first one that, you know, went to Parliament and created his, you know, team, even though that fell through the cracks. I think it showed people how corrupt the system was too, in some aspect, you know.
Yeah.
And just with everything going on right now, it's important for people to stand in their truth, to stand in their authenticity. That's what I highly encourage, like, especially our listeners listening today, is, you know, is feel the fear and do it anyway. Like, even if it scares you, like, this is coming from someone that suffered, like, I'm not even downplaying it. Like, I suffered severely from depression. Like, it was like the norm. And I always remember, like, after I had my son, like, I remember like seeing some news article about like some severe weather, and that, you know, New Zealand could go under in 5 years. And I was thinking, oh, I was actually relieved to hear that. I always felt like this, I just wanted to get off this planet. My soul didn't feel right here. And I think intuitively, at the time, I didn't know it, I was picking up on what was
Yeah.
happening around me, you know, like with
Yeah.
these corporations and the child trafficking. But I just hadn't gone that far down the rabbit hole. And it wasn't until later on during my awakening that I started putting two and two together. Like, there was nothing wrong with you. There was something wrong with this world. And intuitively you were picking up on it. That's why your soul was like, get me out of here, you know?
Yeah. Because I think we were all like, all of our souls that, you know, we knew what we were coming into. This is what I believe, like,
Yeah.
well, you know, like before we came to planet Earth and before we were born, we knew we were coming for this, you know? Like, this is a huge thing. This is a global thing. It's not just like, you know, just here in little old New Zealand. It's in every single country. So this is a collective issue, and it's huge, it's massive. And so we didn't just like pop here and be like, oh, well, it's just us. No, it's
Yeah.
a huge thing. So I think that to be here experiencing this, and then our souls telling us like we're not really happy prior to this whole agenda that's come up now. It's finally a little like, even though it's freaky, it's kind of a breath of fresh air to know that, holy crap, I have been depressed. That's because I don't agree with so many things of this world, and nobody was talking about it.
Yeah.
There was no one here to like, if I screamed about all the things I was frustrated about, nobody was going to listen to me. I was just going to be a crazy person. And now look, I get to be a crazy person with a lot of people. So that means I'm not crazy. Yeah, you know, because like, we're seeing the same thing, we're feeling the same thing. And we're, you know, this is a beautiful way of showing up in the world to say that we believe that the world can function better. We believe that this is not the way.
Yes.
Forcefulness is not the way. And we believe that you can have a choice when it comes to taking care of your health, regardless if it's coming from any type of expert or doctor. If there's advice,
Mm,
you so if you have cancer and a doctor tells you you should go for surgery, you always have a choice not
yeah.
to. So, and I think people forget that, like, you are still in charge of your body, regardless of the advice that's being given. And it's not a threat to public health. That's a big brainwash. Just, if you don't get a vaccine, remember, these companies are making billions of
Mm.
dollars on the vaccines that they're pushing. So, it's, of course, it's going to benefit them if you believe everything that comes out of the expert's mouth. But sorry, I always get into that, but I
No,
wanted
I think it's important though. Yeah.
to,
People need to question that. And, it's not about, people are always like talking about informed consent. It's like, well, we haven't had
yeah,
that,
yeah,
and people are like, we've, yes, what are we actually consenting to when we don't know, the bigger product, what is in the product, I should say, or, where it's coming from. And we're not allowed to ask these questions too. It's just
yeah,
like, okay, so what is it about? We need to question the fact that people are getting censored, doctors are losing their jobs that speak out,
yes,
and to me, I would rather follow the expert that is putting his whole career on the line than the doctors that are getting paid. I'm pretty sure I've heard there's been some
yeah,
incentive where, for each jab given, doctors get a certain amount. I don't know if that's true or not, but, it
yeah,
doesn't surprise me if it is.
yeah, totally. Like, I think the centers that are doing it are getting like $1,000 per jab, and then like each worker has a certain amount of number of people, and if they reach that number, they get a bonus. So, like, of course, like, why wouldn't people want to be a jabber? It's
Yeah.
kind of like, it's easy. And hey, I'm not the one that's telling them to come get it. I'm just doing it because they're asking for it. So for these, for a lot of these people, it's easy to do a job like that, I think. And we have lost sight of our own moral compass because we're operating in a world that has none, that would have you believe that what is bad is good. And
Yes.
I think that is the reason why we're in this predicament,
Mm.
when we do not have discernment when what you're being told, is good. This is good. Of course it is. Drink the Kool-Aid, guys. What do you
Follow the
mean,
leader,
the
right?
ingredients? Yeah, like, why would you need to ask me what the ingredients is? Don't just trust the experts. That's all you need to know. And it's like, don't worry about
Crazy.
all the corporations behind them. Just look at the friendly face,
Yeah.
look at the smile and the be kind words. And it's just not like, it's fake. It's so fake. And I think we're all tired of fake friends, and we're tired of fake
Yes.
people.
I
So
think
that's
too,
another.
another good thing about what has happened with these shifts is a lot of us that have gone through our awakening and transformation have purged a lot of what was no longer serving us, what was no longer filling our cups and bringing us joy.
Yeah.
Right? So things that weren't aligning with your soul's purpose and mission kind of naturally just fall away. And then the new
Yeah.
comes in, you usher in the new and create these deeper friendships. I feel like it made me realize how superficial a lot of my friendships were. And
Mm,
just having these deeper connections with people, like it's just people online that I've never met that have just brought so much joy and made me feel like I'm not alone and that I'm not crazy. And it's just a beautiful feeling. And like, what advice would you give to people going through this transformation right now?
I feel like if people are in a place of, because you know how we go through our stages, like
Mm,
when I first like really started to realize everything and how deep this really went, I was just so angry. I was
mm,
just so mad. Like, I could not leave my house without being mad. Like, I would see 5G towers popping up while we were in lockdown, and then we'd go out and I'd just see so many. And I was like, this is what they were working on while we were in lockdown. And then I would see like all these different signs and symbols which I had learned about and stuff everywhere, which so I couldn't leave my house without being upset, and I was crying all the time. And my partner was just like, he couldn't understand why I was taking everything absolutely seriously. But it hit me like a rock to the head.
You
It was
almost
like
grieve, like your old life, you grieve.
yeah. Yeah. And I was like, I am nothing that I thought I was. I am not, like, everything that I believed is out the freaking window. And this is upsetting me because I feel like not only have I been lied to, but like I felt like I had more trust in humanity. Like, and now you're basically now I can't trust any of these people. Like,
Yeah.
I knew that some politicians were corrupt, but I didn't realize that almost pretty much everybody was corrupt and taking deals and signing contracts behind the people's back. I was just so frustrated. So, and I think I have to mention that, like, if there's any advice I can give, it's just like give yourself time, like set yourself away from the world. Like, you do have, like, there is a time where when in your transformation, you need to be like a butterfly and you're going into a cocoon to really think about your life and reassess your goals, because now everything that you once thought was true may not be true for you anymore. And so now is a good time to really look at, okay, what do I want out of this lifetime now? What is the lesson here? Because all of this isn't for nothing. Like, I realize now, like, no one's out to freaking kill me. No one's out to like sabotage my life. It's just that it made it easier to believe that what they were doing was good for their benefit. And now that I know the truth, now I can fully take control of my life, what I believe, and what I'm willing to put up with, and what my spiritual boundaries are. So those are the things that people need to look at when it comes to like the depression that you may find yourself in. Is like, don't be afraid to isolate yourself spiritually from the people that you once resonated with, which they might not see what you're talking about. It is a bit of a crazy thing because you are no longer the body. You're not Jazz and I'm not Alena. We're two spirits that have been labeled here in order for us to call each other something, but we know we're not. Well, no, we're not those names. We know that we're like a loving spirit and our true essence is love. So that's hard because if we've been living our lives in like frustration, now we have to find a way back to peace. And that's really hard. It's like the goal is ultimate forgiveness. And I'm finding that really hard. That is the hardest thing ever.
It can
like
be tricky
forgiving.
too. Yeah, especially with the forgiveness part because we had a discussion yesterday and we kind of spoke on Jacinda and you said that you're at a point where you felt sorry for her and, I guess I'm not quite there yet in terms of that, but I feel like I'm nearly there with forgiving these people. And I guess it's understanding, like, when you go in down the rabbit holes and you learn about the bloodlines, they're just a product of, their upbringing and what they were taught. And, and a lot of it was unfortunately satanic and demonic, and I think that's another shocking thing about waking
so
up is
believe.
how satanic our world is. But then, all you need to do is watch, look at our movie industry, the gaming, the music, and you're just like, it's so sexualized, it's so violent, and then you realize, like, I think another really good documentary, especially if you're first waking up, is Outer Shadows, because it teaches people about the programming and how these hidden messengers in the content that we're watching, and you don't realize how much it plays on your psyche. We are World War III is playing out right now, and it's a battle for your consciousness. I think that's another part of the awakening. You connect more with your consciousness, you connect more with source, God consciousness, and you are able to decipher between the two, and you're able to see through the bullshit. Like, whereas now I can watch something, like you said, you're seeing symbols everywhere. You see them pop up in like TV shows and your kids' cartoons. Like, my kids were watching SpongeBob the other day, and they had the Illuminati dolphin in it, and I'm just like,
Oh my
it's
God.
everywhere, and they're telling us right to our faces. This is how, with the satanic belief, they have to gain our permission, and they think by telling us through
yes.
our programs that they're gaining our permission to enslave us, because that's what they have done. Our whole society has been enslaved by like these corrupt banking overlords, and it's crazy. Like, when you say it out loud, like, especially like our world is being run by satanic pedophiles.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Who the hell's going to believe that? Honestly, like, and that's how they designed it. If you were to say something like that, you would look nuts. You'd be, put in a bloody straitjacket and put in a mental asylum. And that's how they've gotten away with it for so long.
Yeah.
Breaking down like those barriers and the manipulation that has been embedded into like the indoctrination of it, with our schooling and, like I said, the programming, a lot of it, like, it really pissed me off when I first woke up, because I was the biggest movie buff. I worked at a video store. I used to like binge watch movies with my friends. Like, I was your go-to girl. And so I really looked up to celebrities, and everything Hollywood, I was on board, like the magazines and, the fashion. And so when I first woke up and I realized these people are in on it, it made me like even more furious, like, and they could be involved in the children, like the trafficking, and, and it's evident with what's happening and what's coming out with Epstein Island. Like, no one can say it's a conspiracy theory anymore. We all know that child trafficking exists. We know that much is true. I just think people don't realize who is operating these rings. Like, and when you follow the money trail and, who's involved and what's being produced, which I won't go into that, is it just breaks your heart. It really does. And like I was saying before, like, I went through this grieving process. Like, I was like you, angry. But I feel like you and I harnessed our anger and we used it, in a productive way. Like, we didn't go out there vandalizing and, as much as we wanted to march up to Parliament and, pull them out of there, it was all coming from a place of love, even though we're angry. Our purpose of speaking out was to make others aware and to get others to question things. Even if, like, I would even tell people, don't believe what I say, research it. You need to do the research. You need to take the first steps and go down these rabbit holes yourself, to really understand and, what has been happening and how we've been enslaved and manipulated, and how it's playing out right now. We cannot deny there's a great awakening. We are living in the most exciting time in history where humanity is taking back their power and, stepping up, and it's up to us, it's up to us to do this. It's up to us to tear down the old structures that aren't working and rewrite our history, rewrite the future. Whoever is awake now, I believe we are the children of the light. We were awoken at this time to bring the light into this world, to penetrate the darkness, and everyone speaking up, I hold in high, esteem and gratitude, because we are the way showers. We are truly here guiding you, and we're not here to say we told you so and haha, you didn't see this before we did. no, we understand. We understand you were programmed, you've been, in some sense brainwashed, and I don't want, I mean to offend people, but I was brainwashed. We were
Same.
all brainwashed to some degree.
Yeah.
And right now in human history, we are tearing down the veil and we're revealing what has always been there. It's always been there, but hidden so well at the same time. And I think our goal for this podcast is to navigate people through this, and this, like we said, we called this the heart space because we're speaking from the heart. We are truly passionate about our purpose, which I believe our purpose is to speak on this. Like, again, like I was very introverted before I started this journey. I would not speak out about anything, and it's like, God source came and shook me up and said, it's
Yeah,
time.
that's
Said,
huge.
it's
That's, I
wake
would
up
say that,
now. Yeah.
like to have, like, I can actually understand what you mean when you say you were like, totally about Hollywood and the fashion and stuff and like movies and like that. I can relate to some of that too. And then not really, like you were come from a family like most people where we do what most people do and we take our vaccine and we follow the laws because we want to be a good citizen. Well, what do we do when following the law is actually hurting other people? What do we do when the law is not a real law and it's actually starting to kill other people? Like when it goes that far, where does our moral compass lie then?
Yes.
And we see this we see the scenario happen in so many movies too, where you have the hero of the movie who's faced with um you know doing one thing or the other. Like, does he save the world or does he save himself or whatever that case may be? And sometimes, like, for yourself and for people like myself as well, it's almost like this isn't benefiting us to talk about the stuff that people don't really want to hear. Like, it's really, if anything, it's given me more negative feedback than positive. I've had more blows and I've had more hate talk and hate and threats in my messages than ever before in my entire life, and I'm still going. Nobody wants to wake up to a message telling you that you're effing this and you're effing that and go back to the states where you belong, and you know what I mean? And like you're like just calling you names and saying I hope you die and stuff like that. Like, these are the actual types of messages that a lot of us are getting because of like having to like wanting to speak out and say like, guys, we can change. This is not right. This is not okay. And actually the government is wrong. And if you could just open your eyes and see that, we actually might have a chance at correcting humanity and directing us to the right place, because right now they're pulling us and driving us where they want us to go, and we're so used to taking handouts that we're just like, okay, la-di-da.
Yeah.
But time of this is a time of taking responsibility and saying shit, like, I have really not known what was going on all this time, and I'm putting my foot down now. You're not going to take my children from me. You're not going to tell my children they have to take this. You're not going to force me to bring my children to a school that you are putting fear in, that there's some type of virus running around. And now, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so much that is going on. All of us are kind of standing up in our own way. And I think that, like, back to what I was saying about you, like, coming out and just being like, boom, that is huge. This is proof that I think good exists, that good is fighting for, to be seen. Because we've just had so many things happening that we've ignored, the murders, and I'm just saying, like, in general, like, if we look at the collective of everything, we see a lot of homeless people, we see a lot of drugs, and we see a lot of mental illness. Why are we having these problems? we literally have come from a world where none of that exists. And
Mm,
yet here we are as humanity vibrating on such a low vibration
yes, yeah.
that we watch murder for entertainment. Like
Yeah.
seriously, that is, and
Kind of
we,
sick, really, when you think of it
it's
like
sick.
that, eh? Yeah.
It's sick. And we
It's
watch people,
normalized. We've
it's normalized.
normalized it. Yeah.
Rape is normalized, like all of these things, it's not normal in another dimension, in another world, in another space and time. We don't come from this. So this is why, like, now everything is coming to light, and there's so many people that don't want to face that, but it's true, it's happening. I watched an actual documentary of a guy who went undercover to talk to a guy who was helping very, very rich pedophiles get to the children that they wanted. And they have children in like orphan
Oh,
homes,
wow.
and they have huge, I'm talking about beautiful mansions that are business owned. When you go inside, it looks professional. You have someone at the door, you have actual rooms, which are just showers for washing up
Mm,
after they do what they want with these children.
it's sick, eh?
And these businesses take millions of dollars, probably more so in the billions, because they cover up what they do. And you have a
And
whole
people know
organization.
that these
Yeah,
places exist. That is not a conspiracy. Yeah.
no. And this was like somewhere in Russia,
Yeah.
and they
Oh,
had
wow.
maybe about 7 different places that I'm talking about huge mansions.
Wow.
They are legit, and this is the business they run. And then they're connected with different orphanages where the children are drugged, and like, yeah, I don't want to go into child trafficking, but like, this is literally the depth. Unless we look at that, we're not going to want to make a change. We're not going to know that we need to make a
I
change.
think too, like we've touched on child trafficking a bit. I feel like I could say for both of us, it played a huge part in our awakening too, learning about that. I think that's why we want to just make people aware of it, and maybe, you don't
Yeah,
have to go right down as far as we have, but just be
yeah,
aware that how it links to these bigger corporations and these people that we were taught were good, and
you're
these are
good.
people running the world. These are people in high places that are involved in this. And it's evident with the Jeffrey Epstein case too. So people need to put, I guess it's just connecting the dots, really. Like,
Yeah,
and I think
yeah.
that's, I know I'm laughing, but it's, I laugh because it's, to me, it's just common sense. And I feel like a lot of people have proven to not have it, especially like I feel like a lot of people will, like doctors or people that have gone to university, aren't clicking. It's not everyone, there are some, but
Yeah,
it's just so bizarre that these people that are so-called professionals and highly educated aren't clicking to what's happening. And I think a lot of what I've seen in this awakening movement is a lot of the underdogs are taking charge, the people that were the high
yeah.
school dropouts, or, like I didn't aspire to go to college, have seen through the bullshit, and we're making a huge, huge impact. Like with this whole, we had the truck convoy. I think there's people standing outside Parliament today. I didn't even know about that, but
Yeah.
I woke up to seeing pictures and people camping outside, and people can't deny that something's happening, something big is happening
And
within our
they're
little
not
country
leaving.
there. Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
so proud. I'm so
Yeah, me
proud.
too. I had a friend call me last night, and she's like, look at this. And then she called me on Messenger just to walk around the camp place. And I was
Oh,
saying hi to random people and stuff, but I really didn't know much about it because I've been banned off Facebook. So for me, I was like, oh, wow, cool. Hi, everyone. Like, but it looks like the experience of being there right now
yeah,
is huge. This is going to go down in history. I truly believe that there are
yeah,
going to be people that are going to remember this time as the time that we fought hard to,
100%. There's no
to
denying
stand up
that.
for what's right. There's no if you want to take what you want to take, that's okay, but it cannot be forced. And this is the thing with humanity. If we let this go now, they will force anything else they want to from here on out. So we have to stand. We have to stand for choice. I'm not hating on anybody that's made their decision. My partner has taken both vaccines, unfortunately, and I still love him, and we still coexist in this house. We still love each other, and I'm 4 months pregnant now. Like, we're not going anywhere, but we're proof that you can still love each other. But we can't live with a government that's going to force people to choose between their livelihood or their life. You know, in the near future, this cannot carry on. So I'm hanging on tight for my children's life and fighting for them to not have to take this right now. But I also realize that as they get older, they can make their own choice, and I will never shun them or, you know? So there's that balance of like neutralizing my feelings towards this entire vaccination agenda. I went from really, really angry and getting mad at people for taking it to I understand.
Yeah.
And I love you anyway.
That's a beautiful place to be too, because I feel like a lot of people are only taking it because they were backed into a corner. They're not they're going to catch
because of their health.
No,
yeah.
no, they need to pay their bills, you know, like,
yes.
And a lot of conversations that I've had with people have been evident that that is the case, you know, and it's sad, you know, a lot of people have been backed into a corner to the point where they've had to make this tough decision, and they've been isolated from family members, and there's like this huge apartheid. Well, I think there's an illusion of it. I think there's a lot more people on board, even people that have been vaccinated that aren't agreeing with it, that are slowly like wanting to join in these rallies or do a little bit more research on their own. The more they push on us, the more people are waking up. So I feel
into that.
Yeah,
I agree because
we're heading in the right direction.
My partner works, at a government place, I'll say that. But he says that there are several people that have taken it, but absolutely, like, on the breaks, it's like, this is bullshit. You know, they people are still holding on to their opinion. They'll do what they have to do to survive. But at the end of the day, if a soul will not change their mind on something, you cannot force it. And I think that's where, we're really coming into our own authority here to say, like, you guys are trying, but at the end of the day, a weed can grow through the cracks of concrete. You can try, but we will push. Yeah. That we are nature. Yeah, we are nature. Yeah.
Well, we'll probably wrap this one up. I think we've touched base on a lot, and I'm so excited for our next topic, which is we're going to be focusing on self-love next week, which I am so excited to talk about and share our own personal journeys and some tips of, how to get in this place of peace with yourself. Like, I must admit, I'm still working on it. There are days where I just feel horrible and I just want to stay in bed and, just lounge out. And we're all welcome to those days like that. We need those days to like recuperate and just, but I'm always at my best when I have my full face of makeup on, and I feel good. I feel good when I'm dressed up. Do you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. I think self-love comes in so many different forms, and I'm looking forward to that conversation too, because I think people may not be clear on what self-love is. And like, I've myself for a long time was like, what is that? Like, I don't get it. Like, what do people mean have a relationship with yourself? Like, I am myself. Like, what does that actually mean? And what does it look like? How do I put that into action? Because it just doesn't make any sense. And so, let's talk about that next week or whenever that is. because I think we can come up with several solutions so that people can really grasp it and then do it. And
Absolutely.
that will change. That will change your perception of how you are with other people.
Absolutely. And we really value our listeners. And, you know, if there is a certain topic that you would like both Alena and I to discuss here, like reach out to us. We will be available on Facebook and YouTube, and we are open to ideas. And yeah, we look forward to this journey. This is a whole new journey that we're both taking together. And, you know, we just want to create like this safe space for people to express things from their heart. You know, we'll definitely be expressing what comes from our heart, but if there's anything that people would like us to discuss, we are open to
Let us know.
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely.
Yeah, even if you have a personal experience and you want to talk about that,
Yeah.
we love getting personal. So we won't be giving advice, but we would love to just talk about it because there's so many things that Jazz and I have been through that that we could talk on. So if you guys have something, then let us know, you know, write to us, make comments, because we will get back to you. And we do want to talk about these things because we want people to come back into the heart space.
This
like
isn't just a space where we just ramble. No,
Yeah.
we want to be able to connect
ramble.
with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean. But we want to engage with our audience as much as we can. Yeah, most definitely. And letters are welcome, emails. Yeah, we are open for all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have an email so people can write to us if they do want to do something personal?
Well, what I can do, yeah, we'll set one up and we'll put it in the description below. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, we'll create us an email. That's a perfect idea. Yeah. See, we're learning as we go, and things will adjust as we go. And again, like you're on the journey with us, so come and take the journey with us during this whole podcast, because we are just so excited to speak out and just do this together as a team too, because it's nice bouncing off each other, and we have that inner support with one another too. And we want to support you guys as much as we can.
Yeah. Totally. We're here for you. We need a sister group like this because I don't think there's anything like this in New Zealand, to be honest.
No,
like I haven't really, like I've heard lots of Australian podcasts, but not something super local for us. So yeah. So anyways, I'm super happy to have shared this time with you, and thank you so much for listening. Yeah.
And have a great day. And I hope everyone listening has a great day, and we're sending out so much love and positive vibes to all of y'all. Thank you all for checking in.
Yeah, much love.
Much love. Ka kite.
Bye.